We created Free because someone had to stand for the addicts and loved ones of addicts who were suffering in silence, for the spiritual refugees who didn't have a place of belonging. A traditional church model doesn't create space for the conversations we know have to be had. Free is standing with those who are barely hanging on, who are longing for something new. Free is bridging the gap between spirituality and recovery. In this place, God meets us exactly where we are. This is what we stand for.
Evening, everybody. Hello, how's everyone doing?
Good.
Good. Welcome. I see some new faces here tonight, some returning, so good to see all y'all. Welcome back, or if it's your first time, I want to welcome everyone to Free Recovery Community. We're a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. We come together every Saturday night and just explore questions to deal with spirituality and recovery. And so we're not a 12-step meeting, so there's a couple things that are a little different than the 12-step meeting. There's no program to work or any of that. We assume that you get all of that elsewhere. We're just here to grow together spiritually. So we're really glad either you're here in person or if you're one of the many folks that join us online every week. That's why we have the microphones and all that so the people online can hear us. So welcome everybody to Free.
Welcome. My name is Shelly. I'm a recovering addict and spiritual refugee.
Hey, Shelly.
Hey, good to see everyone here tonight. So there's something that we don't do here at Free, and that is shame. And every week we say we don't do shame together. So on the count of three, we'll say it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. We don't do shame.
So a few quick announcements as we get started tonight. The first one, if you're new with us, if it's your first time, or maybe you're coming back and haven't filled out a Connect card, Shelly will be right over at that pink table over there after the gathering, and she'll get you a coffee mug. If you filled one out before, you can grab your coffee mug afterwards. We work on the honor system. If you really want the coffee mug, you can have it. We'd love to connect with you. If you did give us your phone number, expect a text message from a 417 number this week inviting you to coffee. That is not a spam. That is just me. And so I'd love a chance to get to know you better. So.
And then we also have an opportunity to be part of our community, which is volunteering. It takes a crew of us to set up, to tear down, AV, and also hospitality. We have some nice goodies on the table if you haven't grabbed some already. And it's just a great opportunity to join in on the community and be part of the team here at Free.
Yeah, we had some guys here tonight for their first time, and we're already helping set up. It wasn't too bad, was it? No. And when you come, and you get a chance to meet people, which is nice. And next, so this is our last week of our series on sacred rest. Next week, we start a series called Both And. We're going to talk about how we can hold two conflicting emotions at the same time, right? You can love your family member and still be a little grossed out by their political views, right? You can have both faith and doubt at the same time. You can have fear and joy. And so we're just going to talk through the spiritual practice of ambivalence is the word for it. And so we'll be talking through that. We'll go through a series of things that kind of feel like they shouldn't go together, but sometimes do, and sometimes actually depend on each other. And so we'll be talking about that. And tonight we have a very special person delivering our message. It is Martha Lundgren. Hello, Martha. And it's actually Martha's birthday tonight, so it might feel a little hokey pokey, but we're gonna sing Martha happy birthday, okay? And we even have a cupcake for her, so happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear Martha, happy birthday to you. Woo, blow it out. You know, and in a post-COVID world, I only want people blowing their slobber on their own cupcake and not on the entire cake. And I want you to eat it right now so you can have icing all over your face. Here's a fun thing about Martha for anyone in the room. She's a loved one of an addict. And if you're an addict and you don't have any loved ones of your own, Martha will be that. So if you're on the hunt for a loved one, Martha is available. And so she's a really great member of our community. I was traveling to Santa Fe this week, so she volunteered to carry to do the message tonight so that I could enjoy my trip. So thank you very much, Martha. Yes. Okay, and so the way things go here tonight, in just a second, we're going to start with some celebrations. So we'll pass around the microphone and we'll celebrate what was good happening in life this week. Maybe you just got a new job, or you're working on a new place, or you got engaged or something, right? Any of those things qualify. So we'd love to carry your joy with you, right? And then Martha will deliver our recovery-centered message that deals with spirituality, or that embraces spirituality as a fundamental part of all of our growth, whether you're an addict or not. Then we'll just take a few seconds to slow down and meditate. Me and Martha were texting back and forth, like, was the Journey version? Is it Journey? Who sings the original song? Is it? Oh no, you shouldn't have said that. Or is the Mariah Carey version? Yeah, but I will tell you this. Martha chose the Mariah Carey version, not me. So don't hold it against me. Just kidding. I offered it up. And then we'll do a special guest storyteller. We have Ash joining us tonight. Ash, who takes an hour break from the gym every week to come and join us. So thank you for joining us, Ash. And then we'll go into heartbreaks. And those are those things that might just be a little too heavy to carry out of here on your own. Give everyone in the room a chance to support you. And celebrations and heartaches, I always say, if your share at a 12-step meeting is like the email, the heartbreaker celebration is like the subject line, right? So just quick little things there. And then we'll pray and get out of here. Sound good? Anyone want to change the schedule at all? No. We don't need to replace Martha with Shelley for the sermon or anything at the last minute. She'll do it eventually. Awesome. And so now it's time for celebration. So just raise your hand. We'll carry around the microphone. Just say it into the microphone so the people online can hear it as well.
Hello, everyone. I'm Aliyah.
Hi.
So I actually have two celebrations tonight. First, I made 11 months today. And I also got engaged last Thursday.
Was that a man you met at Free?
I think so.
Did you meet your man at church? Just kidding.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sincere. I just want to let everybody know that I'm grateful to be back. I had a little slightly pitfall, but I'm back. And also, I want to celebrate my mom's 59th birthday. Her birthday was yesterday. So, yeah.
Andy, I'm an addict. I got two celebrations. The first one is I got to go to a concert last night, and it was for Cameron Whitcomb, which sings all the recovery songs. So I'm super grateful for that. And then also another one's for free in general. We got approved to be on Google Maps, so now we're on the maps. So
You can find us now.
I'm Elizabeth. I turned 70 last month, and the great thing is I still feel like I'm 23.
Hi, I'm Billy, and let's see, two things. One, I met with my sister was in town on Wednesday, and I had dinner with her along with my daughter and her boyfriend, and I haven't seen her in a year and a half because of me disappearing, and so it was a nice reunion. We had a couple good cries, and but it was just wonderful to kind of reunite with her. And then last night, I celebrated the graduation of my daughter and her boyfriend. We had a party, or they had a party back where I lived for 20 years, and it was just wonderful to see I got along with my ex-wife and a bunch of old friends that hadn't seen in a long time. So it was just really nice to be able to celebrate both.
Hi, I'm Luis. So I have 2 celebrations. One, I got to spend the day with a friend who I hadn't seen in like a year and a half. And it was a really nice time. I put this person through a lot of shit in my addiction. So spending the day with him was really nice. And this morning I did my first, it was supposed to be a 5K. And then where they said turn for 6K or keep going for the 5K, I turned towards the 10K. And so I ended up doing a 10K. And it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
One time I did an ultra marathon and went the wrong way and ran 55 miles instead of 53. It was the stupidest thing I've ever done.
Hi, my name is Ash. I am celebrating that next week my mom and little brother are going to be in town for the week.
Tommy.
Oh, Tommy.
So I've been out of rehab for about a month and a half, and I started off on Instagram with 300 followers. I'm at 1,700 in the month. I've connected with people all over Chicago from music, entertainment, and recovery scene. I've been going to the gym every single day. I'm in an open relationship with 2 very sexy men who love me. And I share that to say that I never thought I'd be okay being by myself and just being focused on my dreams. And I'm very happy and I feel very fulfilled. And for once, I just feel like everything is working out. So thank you for that.
There's some good stuff going on, right? We got some love, some sobriety, some restored relationships. I mean, if I had the promises memorized, I could have probably came up with them a little better, right? But not. No, I don't. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a very special person delivering the message tonight to close out our series on sacred rest. And so I'd like to welcome Martha Lundgren up.
Wow, that's such a great time when we do celebrations and get to experience each other's joys and just wonderful things happening for folks. So I have some good news and I have some bad news. If you can go ahead and bring that up. The good news is, this is not Seth or Andy or Joe's leg after they jumped, despite the pink toenail polish that you see there. And the bad news is, that was my leg 5 years ago in May. And the good news, the good news, bad news, good news is here I am, right? It was a really terrible break. And part of what helped me recover from that break is the old acronym of RICE, rest, ice, compression, elevation. And they're really pretty much miracle drugs. You have to rest to let your body heal. Ice was so incredibly soothing. If I could keep my leg cold, it meant that I didn't need to take as much pain medication, and it just was soothing. Ice is an incredible thing. And then the compression, each time that, it got something snug around it, it felt better than it did before. And then I kept it up a lot, which also meant that I did a lot of resting. This all got me through 30 days of non-weight bearing, which meant that I was hopping on my right leg and using a walker, which was really hard on my right leg. And between the physical therapy and hopping on that leg for a month and what it took my body's natural capacity to heal, and a titanium rod and a bunch of screws in my leg, I ended up doing a lot of resting. And it got me thinking a lot about rest. And I've thought about original rest In the Jewish and the Christian scriptures, rest comes really early in the storybook. So God, the story goes, does a bunch of creating. He creates this, and he creates that, and he creates this other thing, and he takes a day for each of those major parts of the world that God creates. And then on day 7, God takes a break. And I've wondered what God was thinking by deciding to rest. What was God doing? Was God sleeping, dreaming, marveling, hanging out with the Holy Spirit, watching the seasons change? Right? Because a season was created, and then we know seasons change. I wonder if God was imagining the eventuality of you. Has anybody else wondered about that? What God does when God rests? Well, it was so important that it shows up 31 verses into the very first book of the Jewish scriptures. So if nothing else, what that tells us is we have permission to rest, that rest is important. And the Psalms encourage us to rest. One of my favorite prayers comes from a psalm, and it is, "Be still and know that I am God." Be still and know that I am God. It goes on to say, because I will be exalted among the nations, I will be exalted in the earth. So it's a no worries phrase, a don't be afraid phrase. And I made this and all who are in it, including you, phrase. So rest keeps showing up, and it shows up with Jesus in the Christian scriptures. Sometimes he goes off alone when there's been a lot going on and he needs to just get away. Sometimes it says he wants to rest, sometimes it says he wants to pray, and sometimes he takes his companions along with him. I think of the times Jesus goes away and leaves these guys behind, right? He just needs to get out for a while. But one time it says, because so many people were coming and going, that they did not even have a chance to eat. And he said to the disciples, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest." So what about us? It's hard work being humans, and yet we also do get to rest. And sometimes we do it in little snippets. My mother used to lay down for 15 minutes a day. She was a farm wife and the mother of 6, but that 15 minutes a day helped her get to bedtime with all of us in one piece. So be it a nap, a good night's sleep, a get away from it all, or a break just long enough to pray the Be Still prayer. And the Be Still prayer to me is that same line from the Psalm, prayed like this: "Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know. Be still. Be." Prayed like that can be such a soothing and calming reset and a reminder that God will be exalted and I don't need to worry anymore about it anymore. I don't need to have the kind of worries that I have. Rest is an essential component of athletic training. You did an ultra marathon, you bananas guy, but you had to have days off, right? You could not train every day. No. Sometimes it looks like a handoff. So Seth asked for somebody to take his place tonight so that he could enjoy his week and not kind of disrupt all the good from that week by having them to need to be ready tonight. So it's wise to ask for somebody to stand in. Thanks for asking me, appreciate the trust. Rest can help body, brain, heart, and soul reorient and reset in grief loss. Grief takes over everything in your body, everything in your mind, everything in your soul, and sometimes just being able to settle in rest. Sometimes when we're in need of restoration, physical or emotional, spiritual or relational, rest is the thing. So, in the theology that I go to, rest is an extraordinary thing. It can do extraordinary things for us, and yet it's so ordinary, right? So ordinary. We take it for granted. But I'm going to suggest that you think of rest as an ordinary miracle. Think about all the things rest can do. And by its very nature, it involves time. 2 minutes or 15 minutes, like my mother, a day a week, Sabbath, or sometimes months. Something else that shows up in that creation story is time. It's broken down by day. One for creating this and one for creating that. So time is also part of the very beginning of this. After my husband died, I had little appreciation for anything else for anything that anyone else might naturally be delighted by. Completely escaped me, unavailable to me. I even described myself to my therapist as self-centered and self-absorbed because there was nothing past me that I could take in and that I could enjoy. What I know now that I didn't realize then was I was actually resting. But bit by bit, new experiences, new people, new opportunities, and eventually I started to notice delightful, lovely things that I hadn't been able to see. Time is required for restoration in relationships. So I had this argument with my friend Robin one night about 9:30 at night on the phone. And it was really unpleasant. We were talking at each other, saying things to each other about what the other person's motivation was. I felt very attacked. I'm sure, she didn't feel great. Well, I know she didn't feel great about what I was saying to her. And the next morning there was a text from Robin that said, "I'm really sorry, that shouldn't have happened last night." And I said, and can we talk? And I said back in a text, "In a week." And I did that. I don't know what was it you said about the Holy Spirit earlier to me was she's pretty sneaky. She's pretty sneaky. Like, I am not that smart. I am not that smart to have known how good a move that was. And so I spent that week really intentionally figuring out what was it that I wanted to be different, and what did I need to do in order for it to be different. Because we had this kind of push-pull, clashy relationship that would go great for a while, and then there'd be this weird thing happen. And I expected that I was going to be the one doing the work, and she was just going to sit over there and stew or ignore me or go talk to other friends. Well, that week turned out to be, she was not happy, by the way, that it was going to be a week. She said, "A week, really?" I said, "Yes." We made arrangements after about the 4th day for when we were going to get together. And I picked her up and we went to lunch. And before I could say anything, she said, "So I've been thinking about this." And she came back into that conversation with a maturity and a wisdom, and having done the work that I, with my ego, never expected she was gonna do. I figured I was still gonna, I did not expect that what we would come out of that one conversation was actually restored relationship. And it was that week, it was that time. It was that ordinary miracle of time that we both used for that restoration. Time itself does not heal all wounds, but this ephemera is required for many things, including the changing of the seasons. So if you'll go ahead. Once I started spotting, so time is also one of those ordinary miracles, and I started to spot them what I call in the wild, just things that I didn't necessarily expect. This picture right here is in Andersonville. It's a plum tree in bloom last spring, and I happened to approach where I was going from a different direction than I normally do, and I got to see this incredible tree. And once I saw this tree, I saw it everywhere. It was like the city was in bloom. I didn't see any of the others until I saw this one. And over in Albany Park, the magnolia trees that year, once I saw the first one, I started driving around looking for them, looking for those seasonal. I mean, how is that not a miracle? How is that not? We think of miracles as the person who is restored to good health after a dire diagnosis. Absolutely miraculous. It took a lot of physical healing. It took the intellect of people who've done the research. It took, God only knows what part God had to play in that. But miracles, I think, are far more accessible than that. I started to notice these ordinary miracles. And I had been living here for several years before I noticed any of these, because time had allowed me to look past where I had been able to look before. Last spring, I took a long drive, a several thousand-mile drive that took me through Memphis and the Carolinas, and up the coast through DC into Connecticut. And in Memphis, I noticed the first irises in bloom. It was like I chased them the whole way up until I ended up at my sister's in Connecticut. Once I saw the first one, I couldn't miss them. I couldn't miss the ordinary miracle, these beautiful, beautiful flowers that we get to enjoy in the spring. And so time and the change of seasons and all of these sorts of things I've also tucked into my theology of ordinary miracles. Go ahead. So here's a combo ordinary miracle for you. That centuries of human curiosity and experimentation led to the portable camera. And that any person with a uterus would ever feel compelled to give birth, and any person who has ever committed to parenthood would do that. This is my grandmother. This is my niece, her great-granddaughter, the day they met. Those ordinary miracles, those things, that application of ingenuity and curiosity that results in my ability to enjoy this. Maurice is 40 years old, 42, I think now. To be able to have this treasure. So speaking of ingenuity, you know, that titanium rod down my leg, right? People willing to do the work, nurses willing to show up in hospitals not knowing what they're going to see, working through COVID, working in ERs, working with people who are so upset they can't hear anything the doctors are saying, trying to help them get better, that people show up to do that work. I think that's pretty extraordinary. And all of that, to me, adds up to these ordinary miracles. I think about celebrations. Just think about what we heard tonight. They're often unexpected, or they're hard won. Took you an extra mile to, you went an extra 5, right? An extra 5, right? Yep. People plugging away at sobriety and recovery and rebuilding your lives, figuring out how to restore relationships, being willing to be vulnerable with people that you've hurt or people who've hurt you. Your recovery is a miracle. Because built into every human is resilience. It's why the human species has survived this drive, this capacity to be resilient. But it's a muscle you actually can work on and can grow. The resilient scientists describe it like that. Resilience itself is a miracle, which leads me to the ordinary miracle of love. So my friend Robin, whose absolutely bottom line, no exceptions, value was love, fulfilled her commitment to doing as much good for everyone she could She told the doctors when they asked her what was most important to her, this is a hospice conversation happening. And she said, I want to help as many people as I possibly can. And I'm sitting over there, ego in the corner going, oh, girlfriend, you are dying. How is that going to be possible? Well, she showed me. Because what she did was she donated her body to science. Absolutely, positively, to the very end, it was love for her. And then there's the ordinary miracle of connection. Also in that same story in the early Jewish scriptures, so God created mankind in God's own image. In the image of God, God created them, male and female, he created them. Think of male and female kind of as a container for all of the variations of the way people are, but it's the and it's them. He created them in God's own image. That we're not meant to do this alone was both very obvious and so important that the Jewish scriptures put it front and center, 27 lines into the first book, that we are meant to do this together. So I think about the ordinary miracle of human interdependence. Does anybody else besides me come here on Saturday knowing you're going to experience respite from worry, from sadness, from disconnection and isolation? Yeah. It's our human connection, our interdependence. We can rely on this place and the people in this place. So here we are tonight with each other in the very midst of the ordinary miracle of connection with Seth and Andy and Joe, who came back from jumping out of a perfectly good airplane without any broken bones, and Matt and Ed and Ash and Axel, Tommy and Shelley, all of you other folks, you, all of you. You exist and you're part of each other's lives. And if you're new here or you're online and you haven't been with us in person yet, remember Will Rogers says there are no strangers here, only friends you haven't met yet. So this week, spot an ordinary miracle or two in the wild and come back next Saturday so we can experience some ordinary miracles together.
Thank you very much, Martha. That was delightful. Thank you. And now for the next few minutes, we'll experience the ordinary miracle of rest. So we'll take a little bit of time just to slow down and breathe and be. So whatever position just helps you get the calmest, whether you're closing your eyes or opening your hands, and just be aware of your breath as we listen to this song. And so now it's, oh, look. So me and Ash have a pretty casual conversational friendship, and so I'm gonna make sure I keep every joke PG. But we did have to make sure it was quite the work to find a picture of Ash with the shirt on. I'll tell you that much. So tonight, as we every week we have a guest storyteller, which is just a conversation about recovery, and hopefully we can share wisdom with each other as a community to continue to grow. So tonight, I want to welcome up Ash as our guest storyteller.
It's different on this side.
I know, right? Ash is here damn near every week, right?
Yeah.
And this is your first time as the guest storyteller.
Yes, and I've been coming here since
the beginning.
Pretty much you started, yeah.
Ash's mom is joining us online. So say hi, Ash's mom. Hi, Mom. So Ash, for anyone in the room that doesn't know you, who are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your recovery.
Yeah, so I am from Denver by way of California. I pretty much grew up in Colorado from the age of 12 till about 22. And from there, I started my culinary career. So kind of in the culinary career, it's like restaurant industry. It's well known that there are a lot of addicts and a lot of alcoholics because there is, we kind of live for that rush of during service. You were always living at at a 20 out of 10. So once service is done, we try to figure out what to do to either bring us down or to just kind of keep that rush going. So I always was kind of like going out to the bars and getting a couple drinks after work with some friends. But then I got introduced to some of the heavier stuff. I got introduced to cocaine probably about 5 years into it, and it wasn't really an issue for me.
5 years in the industry to get the hard stuff?
I mean, I was kind of so I kind of started out going like on breaks to when I was forced to like take a clock out break and leave the building, I would go to the nearby bar and pound down 2 Jack and Cokes and then go back and close down.
I worked at a restaurant 2 weeks once, and 1 week in, someone asked me if I had any boy. I had to Google what that meant. Heroin.
So yeah, I had started developing a little bit of an alcohol problem, and when I was late on rent one time, I was called out by my roommates at the time, and so I kind of weaned myself off of that one, and then Coke kind of came into the picture a little bit, and did it a couple of times, and then since I lived in Colorado and in Denver, it was very much legal there, and it was very easy to get a hold of. So I was a recreational pot smoker, and I never thought of it as an issue. I always just kind of like brushed it off as like, I'm just helping with my anxiety.
And it's a lot harder. Like if you're an alcoholic, you'll get drunk and wreck your car, right? If you're a meth head, you'll act all kinds of crazy. When pot's a problem, it's harder to spot. Because you just kind of hang out in your house all the time, right?
And eat a lot and sleep, so I would get high. I would smoke half a bowl as I would go into work, and I would usually ride that high on my transit into work. And then by the time I was at work, I was sober enough to be able to hold a knife and not burn myself. And then it just was always kind of a crutch for me, where I always just needed to like go home and smoke a bowl after a long day of work and just kind of use that to relax. And I never had thought it was a problem, and I would just do like a 2-week tea break where it's just like a tolerance break where I wouldn't smoke weed for a little bit, and then once I was like, okay, I need to smoke weed again, I would. So
you're just resting. See, we even did resting. We even did resting in our addiction, right?
Yeah.
You were literally just resting so that it would be cheaper to get just as high again.
Yep. Yeah. Because I would, in Colorado, it was easy to get. I always joked in Colorado was buying weed was essentially going to Costco because you would be able to buy weed at wholesale value because a lot of the stores would sell their own stuff that they grew in their own grow houses, so they would be able to sell it.
I was cheap. I still went to the drug dealer. But anyways, keep going.
But so I would be able to get 2/8 for $40 out there. So and I would go through that within probably 2-3 weeks just because I was smoking so much. And then when I came out here to Chicago in about 2022, I couldn't. It took me a while to find a good dispensary, and then once I did, it was kind of like off to the races again. And then I started working in the nightlife industry, and when I did, I was always kind of warned to kind of keep my head on a swivel and be aware of the things that go on there. And I thought of myself as a smart young man and was like, well, I've done...
We all think we're immune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until,
We all think we're immune, yeah.
At the club I was working at, it would be a slow Tuesday night, a slow Thursday night. It was rainy and I would be bored, and I started to know the people in the club that were always carrying little Coke bags on them. And so what started out as a once every 3 months kind of a thing, because I was bored, became quite often. I would, go to the Coke corner of the club and say, hey, do you want to go do a bump with me? And then it turned into, kind of keeping the party going after the club was done or closed, and just kind of keep going all the way into the early mornings. And then I wasn't introduced to meth until about last February. And once I found that and smoked that for the first time, it kind of changed a lot of things in my life. It was an easy way to, I don't know how I want to say this. It was easy to
connect with people.
Yeah. When the connections that weren't being made, it was always there to easily, I mean, no one's going to say no if you want to smoke meth. There's always going to be someone that's going to say yes.
Hopefully you today is going to say no. If you
yes. But during the active use, it was very easy.
It's really easy to find someone to get high with. And so what, tell me what made you first think about sobriety? What made you first think, like, maybe this path I'm on isn't leading somewhere good? Because you tried it a few times before it stuck this time around, right?
I was always kind of in and out of the, once a friend was like, hey, I think you might be having a little bit of an issue. Maybe we should start going to meetings. I would go to a meeting I started going to the NA meeting at the center on Halstead on Saturday mornings, but it was always just kind of like I would go, and then like a couple weeks passed, and then I would go to another meeting.
And I remember the first time we met after a Friday night meeting, you were like, these things are my problem. These things I'm still good doing.
Yeah,
and I was like, well, let me know how that works out for you,
yes,
right?
I remember saying, like, I don't like, I know I have a problem with Coke and with meth, but I really don't want to give up weed. Like, that's like my one thing that I didn't want to give up.
How here and now on the record, how did that work out for you?
Not very well.
Yeah, okay.
And I think the point where I realized that I needed to take my sobriety a little more serious was last October, actually. I was in the midst of apartment hunting. My lease was about to be up, and I hadn't really secured a spot. And
all these problems that we can pretend like are not because of the drugs, but most certainly are.
Right.
Yeah.
I went on a 2-day bender and kind of came out of it and realized that as I was walking down the street, I saw a couple homeless people out on the street and recognized a lot of the characteristics of me, and I was like, okay, well, I don't have a place. I am working probably 20 hours a week, and I'm barely making enough to even pay rent. And I kind of realized at that point that I am probably 2-3 weeks away from becoming that person on the street that, needs another fix to get me through my day.
Above anything else.
Anything else, yeah.
And whenever I see people on the street, and it's everywhere. I travel a lot, and it's everywhere. And I just look at people and think that could, should, and would have been me, and I just have this deep empathy, because the people sitting in this room right now, sometimes it's easy to take for granted as we're struggling with the hothead at sober living, or we're struggling with that job that pays half of what it used to be or whatever. I think it's really easy not to feel that not to understand the gratitude that we get to sit here right now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, I'm as much as I have my laundry list of issues of the sober house that I'm living in. I am still very grateful that I have a bed, I have a place to store my stuff, I have, blankets, I have my pillows, I have my clothes, I have the things that I need to, and I don't have to go out on the street, and I'm always grateful for that.
And not pretending like those issues aren't real, right?
No, right.
But I remember whenever I dropped you off at treatment, I go, this is going to test your willingness. And it's easy to let those little things sometimes cancel out the big thing, which is staying sober, right?
Well, and even before I called you saying that I needed to go, it was like even those like 2-3 weeks leading up to it, I was like, I don't have a problem. I don't need to go. Like, it's not like I was like, I don't really have a problem because, I would go 30 days and then I would relapse and I would go 60 days and then I would have, and so I was like, I don't really think I have a problem until it was like January of this year when I was in the midst of a 3-day bender. I came up from it and I had no job. My phone had been turned off. I was literally waiting in line for a food pantry. I was on SNAP benefits and I was like, this is the lowest that I've ever felt in my life, and was like, I have nowhere else to go. I have nothing else to do. And I just remember calling you and crying and saying, I think it's time.
Yeah. I've never had a harder job in my life than being unhoused. Never in my entire life. Working 80 hours a week in an accounting firm was not nearly as hard as trying to find the resources to survive. And I see people nodding their heads, and I imagine they've been there before, right?
Yeah.
So what is different about the, you talked about 30, 60, 90 days, all these times that are great, right? But you wanted to build more than that, right? Yeah. So what's different about this time in recovery?
I think this time, now that I have a good amount of sobriety under my belt.
You're a newcomer till 5 years, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now that I've kind of been putting in some work, I think.
Sorry. There's some sponsor-sponsee banter that y'all are gonna see that most people don't.
I think the one thing that really kind of changed my perspective was I became a service through the Silver Fork program at the center on Halstead, and I've been working with them since I literally got out of treatment. I got out of treatment on the beginning of February, and then that next Wednesday I was working with them.
I think there's something that helps us when we're in that nitty-gritty of thinking about ourselves and all of our problems. When we take ourselves outside of ourselves, whether it's setting up chairs here or volunteering at a program, I keep looking at Peter because Peter does a lot of volunteer work, right? There's something about taking ourselves out of ourselves that really helps.
Well, and for me, I had always kind of been wanting to find a way to be able to give back my knowledge of the culinary program, of the culinary industry, and working with the Silver Fork, I'm able to provide a home, like a chef cooked meal for LGBT youths that come into the Drop-In Youth Center at the center on Halstead, for those who don't have a home or who have a home but don't really get the opportunity to get good food. So it always is very heartwarming for me to know that the food that I'm making for them is something that they either have dreams of eating or can't eat because it's too expensive, or always there's something like not allowing them to be able to get access to that food that I'm just providing for them because I just like cooking food.
Nothing makes you more grateful for your home than working with people who don't have a home. Nothing makes you more grateful for your recovery than working for someone who doesn't have recovery. Nothing makes you more grateful for the meal you eat than working for people who don't have a meal to eat, right? And so I just got chills for some reason because I was thinking about all the gratitude. But anyways, gratitude's an action word.
Yeah.
So Martha kind of alluded to this in her message tonight about rest and cycles. You're pretty jacked, right? So tell us about how rest works in your...
Just a little bit.
What?
Just a little jacked.
Girl, I've seen people way more jacked than you.
Thank you.
Super humble, too. I'm just giving you shit. So tell me about how that works in recovery, or in like the recovery workout cycle works like if you worked out 7 days a week, it's less effective than if you worked out 5, right?
Yeah. One thing that a trainer that I worked with had always like stressed the importance of rest, because you could work out 5 to 6 days a week, but if you're not doing like an active rest where you're not working out, you're not in the gym, and you're just like taking a break, that's the time where you're actually able to make the most growth, is from letting your body relax and letting your muscles actually recover from the strenuous workouts that you've been going through. And a lot of bodybuilders and fitness trainers say like rest is the number one key. Like if you can do all the workouts that you want to, but if you're not taking that time to get your 8 hours of sleep, like take the day off of, like if your body is feeling fatigued and you push past through that, you could injure yourself. Like just take that rest day and don't think about the gym for 24 hours.
Yeah, I think that's a great not metaphor. It's just like, I think a lot of things in the world the way the world works shows up in multiple areas, right? And I think our souls work like that too. If we're just always going, there's no way for us to just kind of be not just ready to go, to just to be, right? Just
well, and I mean, and I take my rest days very seriously. Like often, like
right.
if I don't, if I don't have a place to be, like if I don't have to go to the gym or work or volunteer stuff, like I'm at home. I'm like reading a book. I'm scrolling through TikTok. I'm watching a movie. Like I'll like be on Instagram or whatever, but like for the most part, like I'm not doing anything because I'm tired, and I'm like, at first I felt like I had to make an excuse of why I'm taking a rest, but then I'm like, I don't need to, because I've literally been working for 40 hours straight. I've been volunteering. I've been at the gym. Like I deserve to have a little bit of a time where I can lay on my bed and just brain rot for a little bit.
Yeah, there's a difference between resting and being lazy, right? like sometimes I think society gets those two things mixed up. Like if I'm able and all that, just not willing to build my life, that's one thing. But if I'm building my life, I also need to be able to exist in the life I'm building. Right?
It's like, it's often like, okay, like I can go see that movie because I have the time off. Like I mean, if you're always doing something, then the kind of like the world passes by you and you're not able to participate in it.
Yeah. So one last question before we wrap up. I know there's people of all different sobriety lengths and times and experiences and stages in the room tonight, but I want you to talk to maybe those people who are earlier in sobriety. I talked to some people earlier who had just gotten to their sober house, right? And your journey at the sober house hasn't all been easy, right?
No.
And so like, what advice would you give them as someone who's, a few steps ahead of them on how to just like ride it out and like put their recovery first?
I'd say really find your community, find the place where you feel like you can fit yourself into, because my friends, both in my sober circle, like you, and free, and the meetings I attend regularly, they're as much of a community as the people outside of it, and and that support has really helped me kind of move myself forward through the early stages of recovery. And also, as you always tell me, service keeps me sober. So like the Silver Fork program has definitely helped me stay sober as well. So community and finding a way to just kind of get out there.
And your community outside of sobriety is still very supportive of your community. And like we had a mutual friend that I didn't know was a mutual friend. And he was like, thank you. Like he was talking about how much he supported you and wanted you to get sober, because I think our communities outside can go one or two directions. There could be that person that's like, why aren't you as fun? So
they're very understanding of when I say, okay, I need to go home. They understand why I need to be going home.
Awesome. Well, let's give it up for Ash. Thank you so much. Now we've come to a time we pause every week for generosity, because we don't get the space and get to set up without the generosity of both people in this room. There's some organizations that support us really well, and some people that aren't quite here yet as well. There is a cash box back there too if you want to donate that way, or you can scan the QR code either behind me or the one right over there. If you're not able, don't worry about it. We're just happy to have you here. And so now we'll transition into our heartbreak section of the night. So our heartbreaks are those things that are just a little bit too heavy to carry out of the room alone. Those things that sometimes just raising our hand and telling people what's going on gives them the opportunity to support us. There's always a little bit of a pause between heartbreaks. And so I just ask if there's a pause, just send a quick little prayer out for that person that's struggling. So I'll pass off the microphone to Shelly. It looks like Sincere's got one for us.
So yesterday, my little cousin was killed. He actually went to school with my girlfriend. He was shot in a drive-by on the west side of Chicago yesterday. He was 27 years old. So I just want everyone, if they could, to just, send out a prayer for me and my family. We was really close, and it's that's the second cousin I lost. And my father was killed last January by the police. So it's a lot on me right now, but I'm kind of more focused than I was in the past. So I'm just trying to make a good situation out of a bad situation, So just keep us in you all's prayers.
Absolutely. Prayers for your whole family, sincerely.
Yeah, hi, I'm Billy again. I had a conversation with Blair, who I know many of you know in the group, and she's had a really tough week, and she asked if we could say a prayer for her as a group. Just some rough things going on in her life. So I told her I would ask the group to do that. So. Yeah,
absolutely. Prayers for Blair. I was texting her today. She's going through it, and I hope whether she's in this room or not, she knows this room loves her. So.
I'm thinking about all the disruption up in Menasha and the Fox Cities up in Wisconsin, which is terrible and hard enough for people who are sober and don't struggle. And I'm just thinking about what that kind of disruption and pressure does for folks who are vulnerable in any way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Prayers for the people up in Wisconsin.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I have a daughter. And we were just starting to get close again. But I need to divorce my abusive husband. And he will take it out on her. He has already, she's angry with me again already, and I tried to explain to her his behavior, his emotions are not my responsibility. Those are his choices. But I live for her. I have no, that's all I can say right now.
Absolutely. Prayers for your family as you navigate that. Okay, well, and if you weren't able to share, or maybe you did and still need a little more support, there's several people in this room that you most certainly can lean on or talk to afterwards. Shelly, Martha, Matt, and Pete, they're all here and they'll all be here for you. So feel free to reach out to any of those people if there's anything else you're carrying. So let's go ahead and close with a prayer. And I invite anyone to just take whatever stance of prayer feels most natural. Again, whatever stance of prayer feels the most natural. For me, I kind of like to hold my hands open because it feels like I'm, connecting and open and receiving. Some people bow their heads, some lift them up. Whatever stance of prayer feels the most comfortable, if you will, just join me in the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thank you all for coming tonight. I hope to see you next week. If you had a good experience, invite a friend. If not, come back next week and we'll try again. See y'all soon.